Hello. Hi, my name's Tim Miller, and I'm a kidney transplant past patient, I guess you'd say. I wanted to just talk a little bit about Georgia Transplant Foundation and also talk about my experience as a mentor and what my history is. I've been transplanted 16 years ago this coming July 3rd. So very, very fortunate, very lucky, and for many reasons. I was also a dialysis patient for 5 months leading up to my kidney transplant. So somewhat have a good experience. I have an understanding of the experience through other people do too. So quick background, I am 67 today and I'm doing great. I'm healthy. I decided to dress down like this because I went on a hour-long bike ride this morning and I wanted to see how I'm living life. I'm just pretty active every day. I'm doing something. I'm walking. I'm exercising. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking my medicines every day, twice a day. I just got into a rhythm of it, and I've been doing great. And so July 3rd is my 16th anniversary of having the kidney transplant, and my numbers are really good for somebody my age, and I guess and been taken care of very well. I do have PKD. I knew there was a ramp up, and I knew I was going to lose my kidney over the years. And to that end, our doctors, we prepared for it. So I did have two people test out for my transplant for a living donor, but I was all the time on the UNOS list for I guess about a year and a half. And then I had a living donor, volunteer, and everything went fine. But the other two candidates had health issues, and that didn't work out. So, but I was very lucky to have a cousin do it, and I do believe it was that in case I needed to have somebody in my corner. It was my cousin, and I had a pretty grateful for that. My sister did the same thing. She was on UNOS list for a good 3 years, and they did a paired transplant, which, as you'll find, is something that works in some cases where there's a person that would do donorship and donate their kidney and then receive one back. My sister would receive one back that had a better antigen match. So don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this thing, but I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience so you could feel confident about what life after transplant was like for me. So, and it was very important. Very grateful for my cousin. I was taking care of my young son then around, gosh, I don't know, 5 years old. So I really had to take care of him through school and through just a shared custody. I was divorced and I was a single parent. So I was able to contribute to taking care of our son through all of this and had support of family and friends. Just wanted to give you kind of a background of what I did. So without getting too deep into it, I did at the end of it. Some of the things that happened for me after life after transplant was a lot of recognition that I had to do my medicines religiously twice a day. It was just a gulp, big glass of water and a gulp, and got all my meds done that way. I lined them up through my insurance company. I was still working. I was on a 1 month sabbatical, if you want to call that. And I was able to work from home well before all the Zoom calls and everything we've done. I was actually calling people on the phone and working from home for another month. So 2 months of working from home. Then finally went back in the office when I felt better. I could walk around. And at that time, like I said, I had a young boy I had to take care of, and also started getting into a rhythm of trying to find some time to exercise while he was at school. Also, I worked from home, so that helped me out a lot too. I was lucky for that. But I did have to go as I got older. My jobs would change, and I had to travel. So as this walked on, I just tried to stay with the discipline. I had to go once a month to give a blood draw, and that was just a normal thing. Get in the car after I'd take my son to school, and I would get my blood draw, and then go back about lunchtime and meet with the doctor. So that was once a month. My medicine's pretty stable throughout the whole time, and I was in a good position to just be consistent with my prescriptions at that time. Again, as I got older, it became a different thing because now I'm on Medicare and Social Security, and I'm doing fine. I'm going back to work pretty soon. In between projects at this time. So life after transplant. was getting involved in with a lot of a consistent exercise program, a consistent diet, a consistent blood draw analysis, and I've never missed any of my appointments. I think there's one in the last 16 years that I've missed, um, and um, and just real simple. It's just if you just do everything consistently that my doctors told me, it'll be fine. So I think there was 10 years worth of blood draws every month, and then it went down to 2 times a year, and then it went down to one a year, and um, anyway, just the care was pretty well done through the clinic at Piedmont Hospital. That's where I was operated on. So I also had wanted to give back, so I started working with Georgia Transplant Foundation um, for the Mentor Project, and wanted to get a little bit involved and see how people were affected and what we could do to help. And so was able to go ahead and get training for Mentor. I've done maybe 12, I guess, over the period of the last 7, 8 years, and went from one to another, and it was really interesting to see how people consistent. All of us had experienced very similar things. Surely everybody's different. You know, you have a different place when you come into the transplant program and when you go out. But the Mentor Project was really good for me to re-engage and give back because it helped me very much. If I have to share a little bit more about Georgia Transplant, I did use the services. There was a time I was in transition from one job to another, so I had some of my drugs paid by Georgia Transplant Foundation. I also had some insurance premiums. I had a gap of about 6 to 8 months, and that helped me also too with paying my insurance premiums during that time until I got in a new job. I had worked for companies that had merged in the technology field, and many of them went out of business or they had merged with one another, and so that is very mercurial. But those transition moments, Georgia Transplant came through with me at least twice over the period of the last 10 years. So I was very grateful, and it did provide a backstop from a gap in like my ordering my medicines or getting my insurance or helping me look for jobs. It was very pivotal for that too. Helped me get some skills for job searching. So I can't talk enough about that. The Mentor Project was pretty good, as well organized. It was training all day. Was able to go ahead and get assigned, and then you work with somebody for a few months or whatever time, a period of time, usually preceding like a transplant or maybe just after one too. And so it's just good there to talk with each other because it's hard to know what to say and do unless you've done it yourself. Like what drugs you take and what are your side effects, or what are your it's an opportunity to talk about the real stuff instead of just talking to a doctor or a nurse. It's kind of how we experience it at home. Um, so just as I say, after the transplant, I'm dressed like this because I took an hour-long bike ride this morning, and felt real great. It's a beautiful day today. It's around 70 degrees now, and it's blue skies, and so I try to exercise at least 5 days a week of some kind. And exercise could be, walking. It could be biking. And in the moment we're in right now, I can't go to a gym anymore, so I am definitely biking and riding more. So anyway, uh, I could speak quite a lot about this, but I think I've just wanted to keep it under 10 minutes, as I say. I can see my clock running down pretty quick, but encourage you to be happy as much as you can, in the fact that there are other people just like you going through this. And when I had my transplant, there was easily 20 people in the floor, I guess, at that time, and I would visit some of them, and I'm still in touch with my donor. I'm also in touch with people that are waiting or have just gotten operated or on afterwards. So I'm trying to give you a message of hope, and I hope this works to convey a little bit more of my personal experience. So there is hope. I'm doing great. I'm happy as heck. I was able to raise my son. I've had several jobs since that period of time. I think there's a lot of critical things that happen after the transplant, and I just feel normal. I just feel old. Other than that, I encourage you to keep faith, and hopefully we can visit sometime in the mentor projects. All right, thank you. Bye.